this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyperlocal, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Do you want to find a stress-free way to buy your next car? Start at CarMax and shop your way. And if you want to browse with confidence, get pre-qualified online with no impact on your credit score and shop cars within your budget. From luxury cars to family rides, CarMax has options for almost every price range, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. So, hey, want to get started? Just head to CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. I've got a bad habit of leaving towels around the house. I don't know what it is. I just, I'll use a towel and just kind of lay it on the floor, or I won't go hang it up. And Kimmy never really jumps on me about it or anything like that. But I always try to catch myself. In the past, I didn't know it. Maybe I'm just getting older and I'm getting forgetful. Next thing you know, I'm going to be walking around the yard. But you never know how these things will go. But today, I'm faced with a case that I want to tell you about, my friends. It's a case that occurred all the way back in 1980 down in the Tampa Bay, Florida area that has just landed on our radar. And it does, in fact, involve a towel, and contained within that towel is the stuff of life, the molecular blueprint that we all have. Of course, I'm talking about DNA. And this DNA may just have unlocked a mystery that has been unsolved for these many, many years since. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags. Well, Dave, here we are. We've got another case involving, like I said, the stuff of life. Isn't it amazing how many of these cases we cover now where that molecule is the linchpin that holds everything together, where we're going to be able to go back and hopefully find some answers to these mysteries that have existed these many years. And in this case, it certainly holds true.
I remember telling you a story about a guy I went to high school with who went to Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, and he and a a friend ended up murdering a girl and planting her body at the beach, burying it in sand and seaweed or the marshy stuff that grows on the beach. Anyway,
Yeah.
And it was an unsolved murder, unsolved crime. It had been a couple of years, and the case was, this is in the early 80s. The case was cold. They had no better idea of who did the murder or why it happened or anything else. Didn't know anything about it. It was a 4-year-old case when at a party, one of the two got drunk and said something to somebody at the party about what they had done 4 or 5 years earlier. That led to a police call. That led to an investigation. That led to an arrest. That led to a conviction. And it led to a life sentence. I say that because back in the day, the only way you would get caught on a cold case like that, if you didn't leave a lot of yourself behind and you weren't already in the system, was if somebody talked.
Yep.
Not so much the case now. My first thought that came to mind on this case was, had Terry gotten away with that in 1982 or 3,
yeah,
he could have been busted now this way. Yep. And just because you get away with a crime, just because you think you got away with a murder back in 1980, they're going to find you.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. October 16th, 1980. October 16, 1980. Police in Tampa called to check on Charles Barnes. Charles failed to show up for work as a hotel kitchen manager. Officers forced entry into his home on East Okaloosa Avenue. They found Barnes naked on the floor, stabbed with a knife lodged in his chest, and blood throughout the bedroom. The crime scene showed signs of struggle and items rummaged through, 2 firearms and Barnes' car missing. 2 firearms and Barnes' car missing. 6 weeks later, December 1980, Barnes' car is found abandoned at the Tahitian Inn parking lot in Tampa. Despite collecting evidence like beer cans with fingerprints, Joe, beer cans with fingerprints and biological samples at the scene, the case went cold in 1980. Forensic technology was limited in 1980. We've covered this a couple of times of what was available to investigators at that time. You were talking about different types of blood work that's done, secretors and things like that. But really and truly, Joe, you find semen at the scene of a crime in 1980. What kind of technology was available to determine whose it was?
Not much. And it does come back to, well, I remember vividly, back in those days, people saying, well, we hope that we'll be able to get some type of blood evidence from this, some kind of serological evidence, because all this stuff, there's a division within medicine and also within forensic science called serology. And most people associate serology with blood, but serologists deal with many things, name just about any kind of body fluid or secretion. I mean, we're even talking about feces. And serologists, I know, right? Serologists, handle it.
You don't surprise me often, but that one got me right there. That I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
That was the snowball with the rock in it. Thank you.
Right.
Wow.
In the kisser.
Yeah.
So for years and years, and of course, serology, we have forensic serologists, but, serology is what is kind of the seed corn that DNA sprouts from. Okay, the modern practice of forensic DNA, and back then serologists were heavily depended upon to look for things like secretors. If you've got individuals that have left a seminal sample behind, for instance, you're hoping that they're part of that population, which I think the last time I heard is like 40% of the population are secretors, where you will find evidence of blood in a bodily secretion. Okay. So, if you have seminal remnant that's left behind or deposition, you'll find like red blood cells, contained therein. If you can get those red blood cells and you type them. But again, even back during that period of time, Dave, even if you were to type the blood, okay,
right,
there is a very limited spectrum of people you're going to be able to match, and even if you do match up, say the rarest blood type, which is AB neg, with someone, well, AB neg is like one in, I don't know, I always get this wrong, one in just over 160 persons, all right, have got AB neg.
Okay.
So you compare that to the numbers that we talk about now with DNA, and it's so far in the dust. But, that's really all you had to work with. And many times it was a combination of things. You would look for blood evidence that was not the blood of the victim. That would be important because, in this particular case, they're talking about that there was a struggle. All right. And you've got, a mighty struggle that's going on in here. So did the perpetrator spring any leaks along the way? All right.
Hey, back in that day, back in 19, if both people had the same blood type, could you separate out whose blood was whose?
Be very, very difficult to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Very, very difficult. What you're hoping for is that you're going to get, I don't know, you go back to the AB neg, example, and hopefully you'll get an O pos or something, and you might have a mixed sample at that point. But again, that's all you have. Now that has to be coupled also with any other kind of trace elements that are found here. Which comes down to, like in this case, we've got fingerprints, or as we say in the South, fingerprints that are left behind on the surface of these beer cans. Beer cans, again, are a smooth, non-porous surface, which for lifting a print is fantastic. It's like glass almost, all right? Because the absence of the kind of porous nature, if you think about a grainy wood surface, that sort of thing, you can lift a print off of there. And prints are not my bailiwick. That's just I teach prints, okay, but I am not a latent print examiner. I know enough to be very, very dangerous. I know how not to destroy them, okay,
right.
But if and this goes, and I'll open up a broader conversation here if you wish. When you think about forensic science, it is an impossibility for anyone to become an expert in multiple fields. Okay, that's why I take exception to fictionalized crime shows, because it does a disservice to people that have worked a long, long, long time to become experts in their field. Okay. So you're not going to have somebody that, say, for instance, is a latent print examiner, and they're a certified latent print examiner, certified and expert qualified to sit on the stand and hold forth. And that person is going to achieve the same level of expertise in ballistics, which is another, division in forensics. And they're not going to be an expert in tool mark. They're not going to be an expert in forensic anthropology. So, but yet you'll have these composite characters, that they'll use on television, where they are all things to all people. And as we very well know, that's not the way it works in the real world. You hone your craft in order to become somebody that is proficient in one specific area. So with this, if you take an item and you're capable of lifting a print off of that surface, either through dusting or say fuming, which we've talked about before with, the heating of super glue, for instance, and it binds with those fatty lipids that leave behind the impression of a fingerprint. Remember, we leave fingerprints behind. We don't have fingerprints on the tips of our fingers. Those are friction ridges. We leave those behind, and that's for the investigators to find. That's why, like with a beer can, for instance, you have to be very, very careful. You don't think about, when you're touching a beer can or a soda can in the regular real world, you're not out there working as a crime scene investigator. You just grab the can. You don't think about, this is, I can disrupt something here. You have to view the world when you're a crime scene investigator through a completely different lens. Even how you step, how you move, how you experience the world through touch. Okay. You have to be really, really in tune to that, because any move that you make in that environment, and they would have known this in 1980, can disrupt things. However, I will tell you this. It was during this time in the early 80s when I first became a coroner investigator. And I remember going out to scenes and no one had gloves on. I remember several occasions being out on scenes. Now you'll love this one. Being out on scenes where you've got a detective that has forgotten to bring his pen, and he goes digging through the drawers at a scene looking for a ballpoint pen to write with.
Billy, hold on. The guy over here's got one in his hand. It's stuck in this other guy's chest. I've
actually seen this happen. I've seen investigators back those many years ago walk into a scene and fire up a cigarette on the scene and tip their cigarette in the dead guy's ashtray in the house.
Oh my gosh.
Walk around with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth.
Wow.
They've got a leather portfolio or whatever it's called, the notebook covers that we all carry, that people used to carry. I guess they still do.
Mine was a Scooby-Doo Trapper Keeper.
Yeah, exactly. And they're writing in that, and that sort of thing. Wow. And they look all squared away, but yet they got a Marlboro hanging out of their mouth. And, you're walking around, you're thinking, are they going to contaminate anything?
Now, I remember the O.J. Simpson trial, Joe, in 95? Okay.
95.
When we were watching video from the crime scene in June of 94. Yeah. And we were watching news reports of that were trained on the forensic guy that was collecting evidence. You remember?
Oh yeah,
Dennis Fong. And I don't want to rake this guy over the coals any more than his career has been, but have you ever been to a crime scene where you didn't have gloves on, Mr. Fong? No, never. In the background is him reaching with no gloves on, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And now look, it all depends on how it's framed too.
Right.
I recall detectives. I recall detectives at that scene. You can see them walking around. They don't have shoe covers on. They don't have gloves on, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but we're supposed to believe that Bruno Molly could have owned. Well, it was. So let's move on from that. I don't want to talk about the years I spent saying he didn't do it.
You're setting the stage here.
Right.
And listen, we could sit here and you can beat up any number of people over the course, me included, for the stupid stuff that I did back then. And it was not, we didn't think in microscopic terms, not the way we do now, and not even microscopic. I'm talking, I guess microscopic, but I'm talking about a molecular level now. Stuff that if you want to take microscope and apply, electron scanning microscope, that's the world that we're in now, and I'm always talking about how crime scenes are now surgery suites, and you have to think of it that way. When you go in there, you want to be that prepared, but whatever they did in Tampa back all those years ago, it has stood the test of time, because though this case did in fact go cold, we've recently found out that today it's sizzling.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyper-local, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquids simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
Brother Dave, you've known me now, so I don't have much in the bag left to surprise you with, but I will tell you this. You might be surprised to learn that the sheer number of cases I've worked over my career involving knife injuries where the knife has actually been left in the body. You think that somebody stabs somebody, they take the knife and they go on about their business. I think back over it all these years later, and I think, wow, that was a significant number. I've never been able to figure it out. And it's not just leaving the knife in. I've had multiple cases where individuals had broken knives off in bodies.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do, I think, with the level of anger that is generated and the force behind it. And also people choose really cheap knives, So, I don't know. There's any number of cases that I use in instruction in college now that I can throw slides up from crime scenes and actually demonstrate it to people. But it creates a unique set of circumstances relative to how are you going to get the body back to the morgue? Because we have to understand with sharp force injuries, we're not going to take the knife out at the scene, period. That even applies to, say, people that are impaled on things. I don't take those items out of the body. Now, I've had people impaled on fence posts. I've had, what was it?
You have to cut the fence post, right? You cut it with?
Yeah, and you take it with. You want to leave it as we say, in situ. And the reason is that you want to see where it's tracking through. All right. And the beauty of it too, here's the beauty. People often wonder, why do so many crime scene images get excluded? And you go through pretrial, and I've had to do this. I remember one pretrial thing I had to do in New Orleans where I'd taken like 600 photographs, and these were 35 millimeters. And I had to go over each photograph in pretrial to say, is this a true representation of what you remember at the scene? And then the defense attorney was so picky about this. He wanted to debate with prosecution over every single one of these images.
Oh my gosh.
And then he did it with cops. And it's kind of a delay tactic, I think. But what they will do is that they will say images are prejudicial. Okay. And granted, they're very, very bloody. All right. Particularly if you've got a knife hanging out of the body. And the judge might say, okay, one is all you need. You don't need more than that. But then prosecution will say, well, we need to show it from multiple angles. You know how you get around that? If I've got a knife sticking out of somebody's chest, if I take them to the morgue with the knife still in the chest, guess what? There's this cool invention that came out, I don't know, in the 1870s or 1880s called X-ray. All right. Remember, they used the first rudimentary version of X-ray on, I think, President Garfield when he was shot.
Oh, yeah, to find the gun. I mean, find the bullet in his arm, right?
Find the bullet, yeah. Well, actually,
it was in his back. Yeah. Because didn't they he died from an infection from where they tried to dig it out?
Yeah, they were digging with their filthy hands, digging in the wound. But anyway, so that's not prejudicial, because if you've ever had an X-ray done and you sit there in fascination and you look at your bones, your skeleton, on X-ray, you're fascinated by it. Well, just imagine if there was a knife in there, that radio opaque image that pops up, where maybe you normally see ribs. Oh, by the by, there's a blade in here too. Well, There's no blood. There's no gore with that. It's just a radiographic image. And listen, most people on a jury can identify with that. I wonder if that's what they did in this case. I hope they did. I hope that they didn't take the knife out at the scene, because as you reported earlier, we do have a knife stuck in this guy's chest. And so it's very important that remain in place, because when you get the body back to the medical examiner, they can actually track the wound just like you would a bullet track, Dave.
Wow. That's amazing to me, what can be done with actual physical evidence sometimes, But when I'm looking at the thought of the arguing in court over something, and I get it. Okay. I do. I understand the idea of prejudicial material. I do. Yeah. Because we are innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
And if you didn't do it, and there's a really nasty photo of the victim, okay, and you didn't do it, but you're on trial for it.
Yep.
I understand that. It's so often
jury's going to want blood.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. The jury wants blood. They want a pound of flesh for this because it's so horrible. Yeah.
And hey, they would not have arrested you if you weren't guilty, Yeah,
I know. And that's the angle a lot of people come at it from.
Yeah.
And you got to be real careful.
This. You know what? All you have to do one time is be a suspect. Yeah. Get hooked up to a polygraph and see how you feel. Yeah. Just one time when you didn't do it, when you had nothing to do with what they're, believe me, that the one thing you need to do on your way, and they won't let you because you're usually in the back of a squad car when you're headed that way, is you need to go ahead and stop by Target and get you some more underwear, because you're going to need them. You're going to need them bad. But anyway, back to this one with a knife in the chest. Now, Joe, we have a case that starts in October of 1980. It goes cold really quick. Okay, we're talking October 16th. Charles Barnes is found dead, stabbed to death inside his home. There's obvious signs of struggle. There's also obvious signs of some serious beer drinking that have been going on. Detectives find blood-soaked bedding. They find the home has been rummaged through. They find the knife in the victim. They find his car is stolen. 2 guns are stolen. But 6 or 8 weeks later, they find his car. They find the victim's car. But that's it. Oh, it's got some blood in it. But beyond that, okay, we've got the victim with a knife in him. We've got his car at a different location. We've got guns missing and no suspect. and none show up, Joe. None. No arrest is made. Nobody's charged. This case sits there for years and years. I'm not saying they ignored it. I'm not saying that in Tampa, Florida, they ignored this case. I imagine they worked it as best they could, but it happened in 1980. And most of the stuff that we've been talking about where the forensics really came into play with DNA, it was still taking baby steps 15 years in after this crime.
Yeah, Alec Jeffries hadn't even discovered he wouldn't discover the utility of DNA for forensic applications until 4 years later. That's the earliest days of it.
Wow.
Sir Alec Jeffries. And so, yeah, we were behind, or we were before that period of time. But, Dave, I want to go back to something real quick because nobody popped up on the radar. The fingerprints that were found there were apparently examined, and they didn't come back with a hit. So you don't have anybody that's necessarily in the system. And the system was not at the same level that it would become later on once these prints become digitized and where you have a computer program that is reading these things. Okay. So, you're talking about hand searches, individuals having to go back. Wait
a minute. When you say hand searches, you mean like a person sitting at a desk, pulling up a file, a card with a fingerprint and comparing it eyeball to eyeball?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So what you're looking at
happens real fast. I mean, how many can you do in a minute if you're flying through? 3?
Oh my! Yeah, it's tedious work. A tip of the hat to the people. The first time I ever saw a latent print guy in a lab doing this, I'm thinking, I don't want that job. Because this is the thing about it. I mean, again, a tip of the cap to them. I don't have what it takes to do that job. Imagine a big drafting board or cartoonist board. Okay, that's like sit there before you, and a guy's got loops, that he's looking through, examining things on his glasses, or he's looking through a hand loop that you can go through, and you have to do a general classification of the print. Then you have to look for the minutia that's going to specifically identify that print, and where you can get an idea about it. Then you have to go back and reference this thing. And so, it's a tedious thing, and very, very difficult to do. And of course, computers changed everything. We started to get into this digital world, and suddenly that thing that would take a protracted period of time for somebody to examine and come up to some kind of reasonable explanation of or opinion on, now that's been it's gone into rocket mode at this point in time. So kind of running parallel, back in the 1980 you would not have had that ability. Now you do. Okay. And also loping behind is now DNA trying to catch up. But listen, any sample you take, it's okay. I mean, if you can lift a latent print off of one of those cans, but brother, if that print's not in the system, all you got is a print.
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down. It's like DNA. If you've got a DNA sample, good on you. I'm glad you recovered the DNA. You developed a profile. If you ain't got nothing to compare it to, then what are you going to do then? Well, it goes into stasis. You mentioned a thing went pretty cold pretty quickly, or went cold pretty quickly. Yeah. And I can understand why, because the person just vanishes into thin air. And they didn't find the guy's car for how long was it?
It was like December. Like this happened October 16th, and it was in December before they found the vehicle abandoned. Tampa's not a small place.
No, it's not.
So, but anyway, it was by the time they found the car, there was no more evidence in the car than they had inside the house. And so it did go cold. But in 2009, Joe, as so many, I think TV shows, cold case files and things like that became popular, and people started watching these shows in the late 90s and early 2000s. And all of a sudden, we had smaller departments across the country having cold case squads being put together. Oftentimes, they were from retired police and detectives, volunteers that would come in and spend their own time trying to break a case. In this case, I don't know if that's who they pulled in, but in 2009, they decided, we'll go ahead and run all this stuff again, because by 2009, you are talking 29 years after the murder. We do have fingerprints. If somebody that left that fingerprint behind in 1980 that wasn't in the system before then, chances are they have committed another crime since then. And maybe, just maybe, we do have fingerprints, or we've got something in the system by 2009. And lo and behold, Joseph Scott Morgan. Investigators retested the fingerprints found on the beer cans at the crime scene. They got a match.
Yep.
His name was Robert Bear. Robert Bear. 2009, those fingerprints you talked about. And this goes back to, he wasn't in the system when they got the fingerprints.
Yep.
So they had the evidence, but if it's not in the system, you're not doing anybody any good.
No.
But you know what? We've had a couple of cases cracked by somebody who left their fingerprints at the scene of a crime and then did not commit another crime. Yep. But they applied for a job that required them to do a fingerprint. And that's what got them caught years later.
Yep. You're right. And, I don't know, maybe your sins will find you out. I have no idea. But you think about that bit, and then you've got inside of this home, you've got deposition that has been left behind, DNA deposition that has left behind as well, that is going to be coupled back to someone. And this goes to this thought that I had about the towel, that I opened up with, because they did in fact find a towel that they retained after all these years. And again, you don't have the ability they didn't have the ability back then to understand that maybe, just maybe, that there's molecular evidence on the surface or within the threads contained therein of this towel, something that had been absorbed into it. They had no way of knowing. But it's weird, it's kind of like Walt Disney's head, I guess. You're hoping that that even though the body's in stasis, that medical science will catch up with it. I still don't know if that story's true or not. But in this case, our scientific community, has caught up with a lot of these people now, and these cases are being solved.
Well, the one thing though, and I want to point this out, that while they did have fingerprints of Robert Bear matched up on the beer can, he said, I don't know the guy.
Right.
I don't. And so they talked to him in 2009, Joe.
Yep.
They talked to Robert Bear in 2009, but why are we talking about this now in 2026? Because they did not arrest Robert Bear in 2009. Having your fingerprint on a beer can does not necessarily make you a murderer.
No, and there were other fingerprints contained inside of that apartment too. And I would imagine, I don't know if any of those, if they ever got hits on those or if they followed up with those. But Dave, I got to tell you, there's something that's kind of in the back of my mind with this case. I've worked my share of deaths over my career. And I got to tell you, anytime I walk onto a death scene and I find somebody naked as a jaybird, my thoughts drift to something else. They drift to things like, was there something going on here that was maybe of a more intimate nature?
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyperlocal, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquids simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
Brother Dave, you know, most of the time when we talk about sexual assaults, okay, you know, of course, on body bags, I don't know that we've ever done a case that doesn't involve a death. Body bags, right? What a shocker.
Really.
With a rape homicide or suspected, you know, sexual assault, primarily we think about females, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that I've worked many sexual assaults on male subjects over the course of my career, and most people don't think, you know, we do rape kits on males as well, and so it's the same process essentially. Obviously, you know, we're going to take swabs of all areas, orifices of the body, and treat them just like we would, say, a vaginal exam. With females, we do vaginal and rectal. And males, obviously, we're only going to be doing rectal. Set the slides up, or set the swabs up, let them dry, and then we do smears, because one of the things we're looking for in those cases is any evidence of rape and seminal deposition. We're also going to do fingernail clippings as well. You know, we're going to do scrapings and clippings. And if I am not mistaken, in this particular case, the fingernails come into play in this victim's case, Dave.
Well, you got to remember that Robert Paul Bear, whose fingerprints were found on the beer can, said, "I don't know this guy. I've never been in his house." Well, then how do you explain our victim having your skin cells under his fingernails.
Yeah.
Because that's what was under his fingernails. It was Robert Baer. So Charles Barnes scratched, clawed. They said there was obviously a fight had taken place. Yep. There was some kind of physical activity going on in there. And in that physical activity, Charles Barnes scratched and got something underneath his fingernails that was able to tell investigators many years later that Robert Baer says he was never there, but part of him was.
Yeah, I mean, fingerprints. There's any number of things that a defense attorney could say about fingerprints on beer cans. You can say, well, he may have walked into the same convenience store, same liquor store, wherever, and handled the cans, and you can kind of conjure up reasonable doubt with that. But when you start to talk about biological evidence found beneath the fingernails of a homicide victim, that's a horse of a different color at that point in time. And one of the things that was discovered relative to the physical evidence at the scene, you had weapons too, by the way. And I really wonder how they came to the conclusion there were 2 weapons stolen. I'm thinking that, because people, if you have a weapon of any kind, it would behoove you to write the serial numbers down, so that you can keep track of it and you keep it hidden or secured somewhere. And that way, if they do go missing, you can track them down. I'm sure, Dave, that at that point in time, the PD that was handling the case, I can almost guarantee you they were bouncing around from pawn shop to pawn shop. If they were worth their salt at that point in time, trying to check out in a place Tampa size, they would actually probably have a division within their CID that handled pawn shops,
right?
Because there's so much burglary that goes on in larger cities that you have to have somebody that's going to keep tabs on that sort of thing. If you're looking for certain items and you show up at a pawn shop, what's the most likely? Where can they be found? If you're dumping the car in one location, the first place I'm going to start is probably going around to pawn shops adjacent to where the car was, right? And then kind of work my way out, or go back to the scene of the crime and work my way out from there to run by the pawn shop, say, hey, do you have any weapons that fit this description? Somebody trying to score some money. And again, I talked about the idea that you've got one guy that's nude here and he's got a knife buried in his chest. Well, first off, when you have someone at a scene and you're talking about this level of intimate violence, there is a sexual connotation to it as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that you can convince me otherwise, because there is a level of intimacy and violence that's connected to this. So it would seem to me that perhaps the individual involved in this may have been a hustler. In New Orleans in particular, during this period of time when I was working down there, we came across a number of people that were, in fact, hustlers. They might engage in sex for money, males I'm talking about, but they were also thieves as well. You've got the victim is roughly 39 years of age. Right. Now, this guy that they Robert Baer, that they have found the fingerprints, and now I'll go ahead and say it, they've got a DNA match on this guy. How old was he during this period of time?
He was 18 in 1980. And one thing that got me, Joe, and I wanted to know, we had his fingerprints in 2009 when they rebooted the case, when they started back over with the current testing, and they did find the fingernail scrapings, but that wasn't enough to put Robert Baer inside that house at that time. It was circumstantial. You mentioned there are any number of ways that your fingerprints could end up on that beer can that didn't include you being there. You can actually get hey man, maybe you were in the same bar, you shook this guy's hand, and there's a way that your DNA could end up under his fingernails. I mean, there are ways other than that you committed. Now, granted, you are going to be a suspect. They are going to be looking at you, but
you are on the radar.
Yes, but that's not going to lock you up, and that's why I went and rechecked the dates, Joe. I was really bothered by that. Yeah, because in 2009 they had the fingernails and the fingerprints. 2000, but they didn't arrest Robert Baer. Now, Robert Baer was involved with a woman who he had children with, and she talked to police because he was describing the investigation and the way they were asking him questions, and she didn't like his answers. She didn't like what Robert Baer was saying to her. So she let it be known that she was bothered by him as well now, but no arrest. In 2015, the investigators once again brought the file to the fore and said, let's look at it again. They put everything out on the table. They went through the computers. They went through everything. And you know what, Joe? In 2015, nothing went back in the file. And, we were pretty far along by 2015. We've got his fingerprints on the cans. We've got his DNA under the fingernails. And by the way, there was a towel. There was a towel. You mentioned this a little while ago. Yeah. It was a towel found by Mr. Barnes with body fluid on it. It had stuff on it, this white towel that was laying near the victim's body. But it took a long time to be able to get it tested, apparently.
Yeah, and they've not been very specific about what medium this is on the towel. And when I say that, we don't know if it's blood or if it's seminal deposition or something else, saliva. We have no idea, but we do know that they did, in fact, find DNA deposition on there that ties back to this once and former 18-year-old that, from back in 1980. And, this is the totality of the evidence is beginning to stack up here, Dave, when you begin to look at this. And again, with the renewed interest in what you can do with familial DNA now, moving forward into the future, it does not surprise me that they ran this again. And that's where we stand right now, as far as this case goes, right?
Well, Robert Baer's arrested. They were able to once they were able to link the fingerprints, the DNA under the fingernails, and then the DNA. That's what they're saying. DNA on that towel found near the victim's body. They now have law enforcement has arrested Baer, and law enforcement has a jailhouse informant that claims Baer talked to him about the case while they shared a jail cell. I put zero stock in those, but it's just another link in the chain. Again, remember the murder happened in 1980, and it took again from 2009, Joe, till now. It's a long time from the time they knew his fingerprints. They knew it was his DNA under his fingernails, and they couldn't bring a case. So here we are, and it's been a long time. 45 years is a long time for somebody.
I'm really surprised that they didn't bring charges sooner. I truly am, particularly after they did the identification with the fingerprints and also with the fingernails. I've seen homicide charges brought with a lot less than this, Dave. And I also want to know the status of this knife. I want to know what type of knife was it? Was it a kitchen knife? Is it something that may have been in the perpetrator's possession, or maybe the victim's possession, a folding knife, a buck knife, or something like that, that was deployed and utilized in this particular case?
I think one thing.
Yeah.
And that is this. They have evidence that places Robert Baer, his DNA, his fingerprints, and his, other DNA inside Barnes' home the night Barnes is dead, or at least right around that time, because that towel, again, circumstantial, but stacked it all up, and it looks like a case. But here's the kicker, Joe, and this is where I think they're going to get him. This is where I think the prosecutors are going to come through. You're on the jury, and I say to you, jury, all of this, each piece of evidence can be explained away. But remember, it was all found in the victim's home. It was found on the victim's person. It was found next to the victim's body.
Yep.
And this suspect, Robert Bear, he claims he's never met the man and was never in his house.
Yeah.
Hey, I believe him. Do you? If he wasn't there, how did his fingerprints? If he wasn't there, how did his DNA get there?
Yeah,
if he wasn't there, and if he lied about not being there, if he lied about not knowing the guy, well, what do you have, friends?
Well, we'll find out, because this is going to go to trial. We just don't know what. And understand, listen to me very carefully, my friends. Robert Paul Bear has merely been charged. He has been arrested and indicted for first-degree murder in Florida, if you know what I mean. So this case is going to move forward. He has merely been charged. He has not been convicted. But we'll keep you up to speed. This is a fascinating case, if for no other reason, just the amount of time that has elapsed since this horrific homicide took place. If they're going to have a problem, it's going to be something to do with time. Time is going to be the biggest issue with this, because its memories are clouded. Evidence gets compromised. That will be questioned along the way. So keep your eye on this. And if I'm not mistaken, they do in fact televise these cases down in Florida. So it might be for all of us to behold. We'll see what happens. Until then, I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bag.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyper-local, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Life gets messy. Spills, stains, pet accidents, and kid chaos. But with Anabay, cleaning up is easy. Our sofas are fully machine washable, inside and out, so you never have to stress about messes again. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics, that means fewer stains and more peace of mind. Designed for real life, our sofas feature changeable fabric covers, allowing you to refresh your style anytime. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa effortlessly. Perfect for cozy apartments or spacious homes. Plus, they're earth-friendly and built to last. That's why over 200,000 happy customers have made the switch. Upgrade your space today. Sofas start at just $699. Visit washablesofas.com now and bring home a sofa made for life. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
Honestly,
no one wants to think about HIV, but there are things that everyone can do to help prevent it. Things like PrEP. PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it means routinely taking prescription medicine before you're exposed to HIV to help reduce your chances of getting it. PrEP can be about 99% effective when taken as prescribed. It doesn't protect against other STIs, though, so be sure to use condoms and other healthy sex practices. Ask a healthcare provider about all your prevention options, and visit findoutaboutprep.com to learn more. Sponsored by Gilead.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.